Time is not a resource that you have. So the sooner you get into more effective ways of studying, the better. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Precious Molepo. If you're new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be speaking about active recall and how I applied it in my university days. Active recall, if you don't know, is a study method that basically practices the muscle of recalling information from your brain. It is extremely, extremely effective, and it has done wonders for me. So I thought, I've been wanting to share this. Let me get to it. So without further ado, let's jump into the video.
If you're a student looking for educational resources, including past papers, or if you're looking to book a coach or a tutor for any module in your accounting science qualification, including CTA, then this platform is for you. Visit gaplearning.co.za to access free educational content or shop Gap Learning's online store for comprehensive summaries.
So firstly, active recall is tedious to do, but extremely rewarding. And I feel like it's one of those things of you cry now and celebrate later. I studied BCom accounting degree as well as the honors PGDA. And I used active recall mainly in my postgraduate qualification. And I just want to share how and what that looked like for each of the subject matters. So let's start with accounting. Active recall, you're recalling and you're practicing that muscle of recalling. If you've ever been in an exam situation and you know something, you know something, but you're not able to put your finger on what it is or what that answer is. So active recall is basically you practicing before the exam setting to recall that information so that when you're in the exam, you're obviously able to recall it much faster, you're able to recall it with more detail, and you're able to have more information and be more comfortable with answering a question. Obviously, it's now easing your nerves because you're not stressed about, oh my gosh, am I going to remember something? Because you're comfortable, because you're prepared through the active recall process, you're much more relaxed when it comes to exam time. So what did it look like in accounting? So for accounting, I did active recall when it comes to journals. So for topics that were very new, such as the leases, leasing and lessor accounting, I made sure that I had journals and active recall those. So my questions looked something like, what are the initial recognition journals for the lessee? Or what are the initial recognition journals for the lessor? What are the initial recognition, the subsequent measurement journals for the lessee and lessee accounting? So we're looking at the finance costs, we're looking at the lease liability, and my questions would look like that. I was extremely intentional with this active recall, so I made sure to set alarms. So I put a system in place to make sure that I am constantly practicing, especially with things that were extremely new and that just wouldn't stick. So I had an alarm. I think I had 3 alarms. So I'd make sure that I'm active recalling, so asking myself those questions and being able to answer those questions in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. I would obviously set those alarms in a time where nobody's home, for example, or everyone is sleeping, where it will be easy for me to step away from whatever I'm doing and go to active recall it. Obviously, if I'm now making it when everybody's home, it's going to be much more difficult for me to be like, oh, okay, guys, let's pause Netflix. Let's stop dinner. I need to go and active recall. So I made sure to schedule it in a way that is not interfering with dinner or social time, and making it much more easier for me to step away and go practice that. Another thing I active recalled was your intercompany journals. For some reason, those things would not stick. So I made sure that my active recall for intercompany journals was done regularly before an exam. What's important to know here is that it needs to be before an exam, right? 2 weeks, 3 weeks before. You're going to constantly active recall. Let's say, for example, for the week, you'll active recall the initial recognition journals for leases, and you'll do that every single day, 3 times a day, or however much you need. And then eventually you're going to take a break from active recalling, and then you're going to start again. And you need to really set out your time to give yourself enough time to active recall it, have a break, like not active recall for like a few days, and then active recall again. That space is important so that it processes in your brain, so that when you go again and active recall it, it forms part of your long-term memory. So that is what accounting looked like. Tax was much more straightforward. What is my scope for a section? What is my implication for a section? And I would divide all my notes by that. And all of those answers I knew off by heart. So I would make sure that all of my tax sections are in an active recall structure. Cue cards, I had like a list on with all the questions and no answers. Important that there's no answers, because it's easy to feel lazy and just to look at the answer. And then you won't know if you really know the answer until you're in the exam and there is no answer. So don't set yourself up for failure. I think be honest when it comes to active recall. If you can, don't put answers so that you can actually work to remember it. Either work to remember it or work to find the answer, one of the two. And then auditing, I did not use much active recall for. I think it's one of the subject matters that didn't have a lot of active recall for. You get your companies acts, etc., but those you highlight in your textbooks. So no, auditing I didn't have active recall for. Finance I did have active recall for, especially like in areas that needed you to have some sort of understanding, like free cash flow valuations. I need to deduct the market value of debt. That's something that I'm going to write in a question and make sure that I remember, because those are principal marks that I cannot afford to lose. So I would have it out as a question. What am I deducting when I'm done? Or why am I deducting interest from my free cash flow valuation and then removing tax from it? You know, those type of questions to really understand the why, because that helps me cement the principles in questions and helped me be more confident in the exam to answer them and less anxiety, and obviously overall do well because of that. So that was my approach. That was my integration of active recall in my university days. I think what's extremely important is incorporating it in your daily study technique and schedule. If you know that you're writing in 3 weeks, make sure that you put measures and systems in place to allow you to active recall, to allow you to pause, to allow you to active recall again, to allow you to revise, so that you're more relaxed and so that the system of active recalling works. Something else that I did when it comes to active recalling is I rated how well I understood certain questions. So if I asked myself a question and I really struggled with answering it, I would give it a rating. So I would highlight it in red because no, this is my problem area. But if I was really good with something and I was much more confident in it, I would highlight it in green because I'm good with it. If it was something that's shaky and in the middle, then I would highlight it in an orange. And the red items are the things that I needed to be more intentional about and my problem children, basically, and pay attention to them and give them more time and set an alarm for them and focus on them every day, etc. Obviously, the yellow and the orange were better off, but not in the green yet. So obviously those would also be incorporated in the daily, but not as intensely as the red items. And then obviously not all red are going to stay in red. Eventually you'll see some red are going to go to green, some red are going to go to orange, but some red are going to stay there for a very, very long time. And again, you need to make sure that you incorporate those and create a system where you are able to constantly revise on those and constantly touch on them. I think I've covered everything when it comes to active recall. The best method of studying is teaching. The absolute worst is just reading and writing, which is funny because that's what we did in undergrad and in high school, but it's absolutely worst. And it's honestly, you don't have much time, especially in an honors or postgraduate level. You want the most effective way of studying, and so that you can move on to do other things that you need to do. Time is not a resource that you have. So the sooner you get into more effective ways of studying, the better. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Until my next video. Bye.